Berry, a number of other big stars. Also, Robert De Niro honored with the Palme d'Or for Lifetime Achievement. Leonardo DiCaprio actually presented him with that award, highlighted his achievement, but also a keen eye on the red carpet after the Cannes in the last few hours has tightened its dress code. It's outlawed nudity. It's also outlawed any clothing that will complicate sitting down for actors. So we take a look at what stars decided to wear then for the red carpet.
Also on the program today, the Panigale V4S gets a makeover. Ducati's pursuit of performance, re-engineering the B, smarter suspension and even sharper handling. We bring you the overdrive verdict.
Our top story today. We live in a time when the first, second opinion often comes from a chatbot. Before calling a doctor, people are uploading blood reports, typing symptoms and asking ChatGPT, what does any of this mean? For many, AI offers clarity faster than a crowded hospital waiting room and without the anxiety of a WebMD-induced panic.
That's right. But as this trend actually rises, the medical world is sort of split on the subject. Some doctors say informed patients are a blessing, lesser nagging and going over issues which are basic, and others warn AI chats actually may give us the confidence but not the context. That's why caution and care has to be observed.
Right, on TBC, we're going to be exploring today the growing intersection of AI and medicine with the question, can ChatGPT make healthcare more accessible for all? Or is it indeed dangerous territory because chatbots should not be treated like a clinician? So before we go any further, we thought we'd bring you a lowdown. Himani Channa brings this report from News18.com. Take a look.
Doctors are witnessing a change in patient behavior. Yes, many patients or their family members now walk into clinics armed with insights, better questions and a better understanding of the ailment. But how? Because more people are using artificial intelligence or ChatGPT to answer their health questions. And not just for curiosity, some are using AI tools like ChatGPT to help them understand their test reports or symptoms before even speaking to a doctor. Whether it's a parent worried about a child's fever or someone wondering about their annoying symptoms, AI is now becoming part of the conversation. ChatGPT is not like our good old friend Google search, where every symptom somehow means you have got cancer and you're dying. AI-led ChatGPT is different as it's fast, uses simple language and doesn't come with judgment. You can upload your entire report on the app and it will break it down for you in simple language. Tell it to break it down even further and it will simplify even further. The good thing is doctors are aware of this shift and in fact, the majority of these doctors welcome it, saying it's not necessarily a bad thing. If people are more informed and ask better questions, it can lead to more productive consultations when they visit their doctors. But there's also a caution. Obviously, we know we are talking to a bot and not a human being. Hence, we cannot start popping pills or following its recommendations blindly. We need to get this clear in our heads that AI doesn't know your body, your medical history or the nuances of your condition. A chatbot might miss context that could change a diagnosis entirely. There have been instances where AI-generated suggestions didn't apply to a person's age or specific needs. Without human oversight, these tools can sometimes do more harm.
Okay, let's take this debate now to the doctors joining us to highlight this entire story. Dr. Swapnil M. Khadke, he's the head of critical care at Fortis Hiranandani Hospital. Doctor, you caution against relying or over-relying rather on AI for diagnosis. We're also joined by Dr. Maninder Dhaliwal. He's a pediatric pulmonologist at Amrita Hospital, and he sees ChatGPT as a powerful support tool for patients and doctors alike. So let's go over first to our Dr. Swapnil M. Khadke. Doctor, if we could come to you and actually maybe start with a slightly naughty study. So Himani brought us this research, and in Himani's article, she brings up this study. It's a small study, and that study actually found that ChatGPT outperformed human doctors in some diagnostic tasks. So ChatGPT scored an average of 90% in diagnosing medical conditions. 76% of doctors did that accurately, 74% didn't. So ChatGPT scoring the highest. Playing devil's advocate for a second there by bringing those numbers in front of you, what do you think?
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to have word on such a great platform. So coming to the our topic, that ChatGPT is a very good tool, and it should be used as per the requirement, but it should not be over relied. I mean to say, to have one direction in treatment or diagnosis is a very good thing, but it should be confirmed well with some expert. Why I mean that? Because ChatGPT doesn't have any option to have clinical examination of patient, which could be done on bedside or in OPD or in any hospital. So whenever we are dealing about these symptoms or breaking down of all those reports by ChatGPT in simpler language, it will definitely direct to some diagnosis, or it will form a setup of setting or a number of symptoms falling in a diagnosis or a disease. So I will give one example. For example, some patient is coming with some complaints of thirstiness or increased sugar or loss of appetite or polyuria. All this thing will fall in a favor of diabetes. But as per the test report, it might come under the category of mild or pre-diabetic stage, where patient might not take treatment and just rely on the diet thing. So in this case, pre-diabetic thing is definitely can be taken care with the help of diet management. But at same point of time, he should start some medicine. He or she should start some medicine to control the sugar. Now you can ask, if it is falling in our mild category or pre-diabetic category as per the ChatGPT, which theoretically is also saying that it should get under control with the diet management. But doctor, after clinical examination, is giving some medicine. It may be very low dose, but some medicine. Why it is so? Because complication of diabetes directly can land up in having blood clots, and blood clots can have heart attacks or stroke. And that is the clinical examination where expert is important. And about the survey, you are speaking definitely whenever it's a symptoms or the collaborative symptoms which help in diagnosis, AI will be the better for the theoretical thing. Accepted. Practically, it should get confirmed by expert, and obviously before giving any treatment, the doctor should go ahead with the clinical examination. That's what my take is.
Okay. Thanks for that. Dr. Dhaliwal is also with us. Dr. Dhaliwal, I get the pros, and it does make life simple, right? It is available 24/7, ChatGPT. It's hard to get through a good doctor. I would, especially you're a pediatrician, you know how many worried mothers call you at odd hours to understand what to do with your child. So ChatGPT is there to sort of help you through that. But my question is slightly different. Whatever little I know of medicine, it is that diagnosis is everything. And that's where the doctor comes in. Are you worried that ChatGPT perhaps might lay down or play down some symptoms which should have otherwise alerted a doctor?
Very true, very true. It is possible because ChatGPT or AI is still in evolution. It is here, but still there are platforms where it has to learn more so as to give a correct and clearer diagnosis. We cannot just say that go to ChatGPT for your diagnosis statement. I agree with what Dr. Swapnil has also told. So, but at the same time, we have to understand that ChatGPT is here to stay. We have to challenge it, fine-tune it, and make it easily accessible to everyone.
Wow. So
okay.
a doctor saying that let's fine tune and better ChatGPT. That's not something we hear very often. Toya has a
So,
question.
yeah, let's just ask you this. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if ChatGPT, AI in general were more purely integrated into medical systems, then we'll take this question to both of you, but Dr. Dhaliwal, you can start first. Would ChatGPT be an effective first step? So just someone going to ChatGPT, running questions, getting more knowledge, and then obviously going to a doctor after that.
So presently, ChatGPT does not have license to practice. But 10 years from now, we really don't know how intelligent the system becomes. And you have to look at 10 years from now, things will change. It will become more intelligent. And I'm not saying it will replace doctors. It is not man versus the ChatGPT.
Right.
It is man with the ChatGPT. We are going in sync with each other. We will co-inhabitate the space and we will supplement each other for reaching toward a better, clearer diagnosis. And believe me, the patients sitting at home, they believe that machine, their diagnosis better because they talk to that machine daily. Whereas they might talk to a doctor 15 days or in 1 month when they are sick. So they have a rapport with the machine already. So we cannot say we are not going to take that into consideration or we fight it. No, we have to accept it and then understand how we can make it better. That is my view.
Okay. Dr. Swapnil, can I then come to you? You said that let's not over rely, right, on ChatGPT. But the question is that we've had instances, in fact, we pulled up in our research as well, that there were cases, one specifically in the US, where the diagnosis, like I said, that's everything when it comes to medicine, right? Where ChatGPT managed to pick up an early cancer diagnosis, something that multiple doctors had missed. So aren't we today then looking at trends where there could be symptoms, nuances, because there are experts for everything? We don't live in a world where we go to a generalist, right? We go to either an oncologist or we go to a cardiologist or a urologist, etc. And then we have to make sense of talking to all these doctors together because there's no panel really available for everybody. But ChatGPT could be that. In this case, a woman was not happy with the diagnosis with the doctor, and that's her footage on air. She actually spoke about it and wrote a full blog about how ChatGPT helped her understand that it could have actually been a thyroid cancer, which turned out to be the case. And today she is hale and hearty and she thanks ChatGPT for it.
Agreed. So I totally agree with sir that ChatGPT and doctor should be working in a harmony. So it's a teamwork basically. Now about this particular case, particularly whenever we are talking about any cancer, it is always a difficult whenever it is a rare thing or it is a very small thing to pick up or it is a symptom settings or a combination of symptoms. So I totally agree that ChatGPT and doctor should work in a harmony. So again, I would say ChatGPT is helping patients to have priming. I mean to say some patient is coming with the some reports already breaking down with the ChatGPT and then coming to doctor. So doctor is also already knowing that patient has that knowledge that what treatment part or what could be diagnosis or what the reports are saying. So at this point of time, if that diagnosis is very, very severe or something related to cancer or something related to heart disease. So at first instance, in previous times, whenever doctor is going to utter some word, so patients were not believing that I cannot have such big disease. I'm absolutely fine. So this is not related to me. But now patients are already primed that I could have that big disease, and with that thing, it is making doctors' life easier in counseling and in taking early decision and starting the early treatment.
Wait, but hang on, have we converted Dr. Swapnil with this case study, because he wasn't to start the show, he wasn't very pro it, and now he's talking about all the advantages.
No.
Have we managed to convert him?
This will be our quickest conversion ever.
I just meant to say, as I said before also, the over relying on AI. Now about this particular case, because it is a rare thing to diagnose all these things, not about the thyroid cancer, but picking up very, very small things in spite of good detailed clinical examination or or those investigations. That is highly possible. But this is where AI should be used. I mean to say, every time AI will not work, or it might not have that okay. much greater thing. Okay. But saving time and to have rare diagnosis, yes, it is going to help.
Yeah.
I also think that it depends on the platform that you're using. There are certain AI search engines that are famous on the internet for how inaccurate they always are when you type certain things in. So, I mean, today we're talking right now positively about ChatGPT, but I have heard, enough people talk about negative instances. But let's go over very quickly to Dr. Dhaliwal to ask him a second question. Dr. Dhaliwal, there are some who have said that ChatGPT can be very good for one particular thing, which is after your doctor gives you a prescription. If you want to check how good certain medications are, what other options are available, that's where ChatGPT can work effectively, because sometimes your doctors may have a unsaid bias towards certain medications.
Brands in particular.
Yes. What do you think of that?
So I totally agree with this sentiment and this concept, because in India there's many social stigmas and alternative medicine happening. So if we talk about Indian context and we take a simple example of a 6-year-old who has got repeated cough, and I tell the parents that it is looking like asthma, we should follow this treatment, they might not believe me, and they might go back home and they might give the symptoms to ChatGPT, and I'm sure the ChatGPT will tell them, yeah, this looks like asthma, and you should follow this type of treatment. So there's a taboo attached with inhaler use, but the ChatGPT will say, yeah, this is a treatment you have to follow and this is right. This will reinforce, they'll be better informed, and I love this. I love this type of change that is happening in the population, and they're coming back to me and saying, yeah, I agree to what the machine and you are saying, and I don't have any egos about it. I totally accept ChatGPT, and with a caution, we cannot rely totally on it. It has to be after the first consultation with the doctor, or maybe for a second opinion, but definitely not for the first symptom at home.
Okay, but the flip side to that would be that how do you know that, and this is something our producer was also talking about, that how do you know that ChatGPT won't get biased over a period of time, or won't have sponsorships or peddle in a particular kind? So there's no filter there as well. You have a point, Dr. Dhaliwal?
Yeah, so this ChatGPT is an algorithm and medicine is all protocols. So ChatGPT will unlikely deviate from the algorithms. So I personally think that if you're in the right platform and you're asking the right search engine, you get a right answer.
Yeah, but algos also change, no? Like that's not at the
Not
speed
only
at
that,
which
I want to come in and say there's been a lot written about, if we're talking about ChatGPT in such
The
depth,
biases.
the confirmation bias. ChatGPT can be very, very positive to you. So you'll come, you'll ask it your problems and it will talk to you in a very, very complimentary manner.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe shying away, so there is a platform bias there, no?
Agree, totally agree. It's still an evolution.
Okay.
I would rather say whenever we are searching on ChatGPT, it is always like search what is the latest guidelines. So it will have a good clear idea. Yeah. I mean, we cannot search blindly. So we have to ask what is the established latest guidelines for something. I mean, any test report or any diagnosis or any symptom.
Okay. So can I then summarize this in this way? There are certain aspects of medicine, of treatment, etc. that ChatGPT does very well, others it does not. For example, I know this Q-risk test that a lot of doctors are doing now. It gives you an analysis of how quickly or in the 10 years that you're going to get a heart attack, or a lot of cancer diagnoses that are happening with way of taking in a lot of information and giving you a risk score. Would it be fair to say that ChatGPT comes great and understanding patterns, reading reports, that's one aspect it's great at, but do not go to it to ask which over-the-counter medicine to take? Would that be a fair analysis? First to Dr. Swapnil.
Fair analysis, definitely. Over-the-counter medicine should not be promoted. And about the diagnosis with the AI or ChatGPT is definitely, again, I am sticking to some basic thing. It should be confirmed by expert. Why I am saying that, even if we are taking about all the algorithms or guidelines or whatever ChatGPT is saying it is expert or it is unbiased thing, still it should get confirmed by expert, because it always make difference in diagnosis, early decision and treatment part, because there is various various number of treatments for any disease or a particular way go on. So what our patient is going to tolerate, that is the main important thing, and what patient is going to get benefited, that is the most important thing. So there is some patient or individualization for every treatment, and that cannot be done in ChatGPT, or probably in today's date is difficult. But yeah, after 10 years we definitely don't know what is going to happen.
Dr. Talwal, do you agree with that analysis? Use it for something and not for the others?
I just keep it very simple. I give a neutral opinion that ChatGPT is a very intelligent machine. It's like having a Ferrari in your garage, and you as a teenager would like to drive it, but when you drive it unmonitored, unsupervised, you're going to crash. So you need to have a coach, and you need to drive it under supervision.
Okay.
Okay, but Dr. Dhaliwal, while that was a beautiful metaphor, I do want some thumb rules for our audiences to go away with. So, when it comes to the places that you would say it's okay, this is fine, use ChatGPT, are there a few areas where you'd say it's all right, go ahead?
So there are actually many areas. There are not few. There are many areas that the population should not turn to ChatGPT.
No, but can turn, the opposite question. Are there any where they can turn?
So they can use. So they can use after second opinion, as a second opinion, after a doctor confirms. But definitely, right now we are not at a stage where the ChatGPT becomes the first doctor. It is not ready to practice. It is not licensed. It is not formed in that way. It is still in evolution.
Right. I mean, I just want to underline, this is nowhere to say that ChatGPT can replace a doctor. I think I just want to put that on the table. This is nowhere to say that it can do it. This is about sort of complementing the entire process of medicine. This is about sort of giving supplementary support. It's like, going to a chemist and asking that, "Bhaiya, kaun si dawai le?" Usse acha to ask ChatGPT, no? At least it'll have some some background to
I
it.
would like
But
to throw some light over it. So basically, in the medical, pharmacist is not allowed to prescribe or give any drug blindly. It is always going to cause some complication or side effect, which is a very, very.
But this is a fact, though. But Dr. Swapnil, this is what happens in India. I don't know of a single pharmacy which is not recommending.
Yes, and this is the best example of the. I mean, this best disadvantage of it it is evident in our India is that most of the time patient coming with some infection and patient is resistant to many of antibiotics because he has already consumed those antibiotics with improper dosages or improper days or improper treatment, and that's why we are facing those resistance problems. So I think over the counter thing we should not, or no one should promote, but ChatGPT is very good tool and everyone should able to use it, including doctors or patients or anything just for the counseling sake. That is okay. That is actually good thing.
Okay, but in a supplementary manner, I think both doctors have made that very clear. Yeah. I think we're all on the same page here, and it's a good place to sort of summarize everything we've discussed today. So ChatGPT, after you've already visited a doctor, it can be useful in a supplementary manner. Thank you, doctors, for joining us, for helping us arrive at that joint conclusion. And I loved a little bit of future predicting, 5 years from now, what could the world look like? How could this be different? That's also obviously very, very exciting to talk about. We're going to be heading into a break though now.
Yeah. And after the break, we also talk about another burning issue in the country, which is about how Ease My Trip now is drawing a red line, talking about nation first and business later. Are people choosing their holiday destinations based on national requirements? Well, is that a good way to put it? We'll discuss that on the other side.
इस जयघोष की ताकत अभी अभी दुनिया ने देखी है। भारत माता की जय ये सिर्फ उद्घोष नहीं है, ये देश के हर उस सैनिक की शपथ है जो मां भारती की मान मर्यादा के लिए जान की बाजी लगा देता है। ये देश के हर उस नागरिक की आवाज है जो देश के लिए जीना चाहता है, कुछ कर गुजरना चाहता है। भारत माता की जय मैदान में भी गूंजती है और मिशन में भी। जब भारत के सैनिक मां भारती की जय बोलते हैं तो दुश्मन के कलेजे कांप जाते हैं। जब हमारे ड्रोन दुश्मन के किले की दीवारों को ढहा देते हैं, जब हमारी मिसाइलें सनसनाती हुई निशाने पर पहुंचती हैं, तो दुश्मन को सुनाई देता है भारत माता। जब हम सूरज उगा देते हैं तो दुश्मन को दिखाई देता है भारत माता की जय। जब हमारी फौजें न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की धमकी की हवा निकाल देती हैं, तो आकाश से पाताल तक एक ही बात गूंजती है, भारत माता की जय। साथियों, वाकई आप सभी ने कोटि कोटि भारतीयों का सीना चौड़ा कर दिया है। हर भारतीय का माथा गर्व से ऊंचा कर दिया है।
Welcome back. You're watching The Breakfast Club and it's curtains down on an era. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma bid adieu to Test cricket, leaving behind a legacy of passion, patience and unparalleled performance.
Their legacies. Anand Narasimhan of CNN News 18 pays tribute to these titans of Indian cricket and what they meant for all of us. Take a look.
Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, two modern greats, two men who not only played Test cricket, they honoured it. Their retirements from the red ball format bring the curtain down on a decade-long era of Bharatiya dominance in Test cricket. Powered by passion, patience and performance. Virat debuted in 2011, Rohit 2 years later. Both had ODI success before donning the whites, but when they did, they proved they belong to the longest format, the purest form of the game. Virat Kohli's Test legacy is monumental. 123 matches, 9,230 runs, 30 centuries, 7 double centuries, the most by an Indian. As captain, Kohli transformed India's Test culture. Under Kohli, Bharat won 40 Tests. Bharat reached the World Test Championship final and for 5 straight years stayed #1 in the ICC Test rankings. He brought fitness and fire to the Indian Test cricket team. And then there was Rohit Sharma. For years, his Test place was debated. But when he was promoted to open in 2019, it all changed. From the top, he became Bharat's shield against the new ball. Test career spanning 67 matches, 4,301 runs scored that include 12 hundreds. He was Test captain for 24 matches, where he led Bharat to 12 victories. Whether it was Chennai, the Oval or Nagpur, Rohit's elegant dominance gave India solidity up front. He led by example too, captaining India to Test wins at home and overseas and never backing away from responsibility. Together, they weren't just great individual batters, they stitched crucial partnerships. As they walk away from the red ball game, they leave a void. Not just of runs or leadership, but of aura. They leave behind a generation that now believes that Test cricket isn't just alive, it's thriving. Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Test cricket's titans, India's proud sons, legends in whites. Thank you. Thank you for giving your best to the best format of the gentleman's game.
Okay, let's take you now from that to a different country altogether. We're taking you to the red carpets in Cannes. Stars on Tuesday made their way onto the plush Grand Theatre Lumiere for the opening of the 78th Cannes Film Festival. So we're just going to walk you through everyone who was there and the fashion we saw. In a second, we're just going to first take you to Quentin Tarantino, Sean Baker, posing for photographs wearing classic tuxedos. Jury members, that's Quentin Tarantino on your screens right now. You also had jury members Juliette Binoche and of course Halle Berry, who's been bringing out some really cutting edge fashion, a black and white gown, dazzling crowds wearing floor-length gowns. Remember, there was recently new rules put in place around all of this. That's Sean Baker, the director. Okay, let's move on from this now on to others. So you had models Bella Hadid and Irina Shayk. They donned black gowns on the carpet. And we'll just wait for them to play out. Those are the jury members, as you can see. Payal Kapadia on the left side in a grey suit. And we'll keep going on. You have Heidi Klum, Alessandra Ambrosio wearing colourful floor-length dresses. And this is when the festival, as we said, has just announced that you can't wear voluminous outfits on the red carpet. The 78th Cannes Film Festival running for 11 days until Saturday, May 24th.
Let's also not forget the screen acting legend Robert De Niro. He was honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award as the festival opened with the gala ceremony. Perhaps one of the most talked about events so far, at least. De Niro, 81, was presented with the Palme d'Or by the killers of the Flower Moon co-star Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, the duo first worked together in 1993 when DiCaprio started and in fact starred in This Boy's Life, based on the memoirs of writer Vas Wolf. Now, DiCaprio also plays a boy affected by his mother's relationship with his cruel stepfather, played by De Niro. In 2023, Western thriller Killers of the Flower Moon, the pair were again directed by Martin. And also, De Niro also received the Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination following year for his role for the crime boss, William Hale. Now, this is an emotional moment. Lots of speeches were made, lots of standing ovations received as well. All right, famous Indian director and screenplay writer Payal Kapadia, household name now. The 78th Festival of Cannes back in 2024. Remember, Payal was the first Indian lady director to take part in the main event competition of the Cannes Film Festival. And this time she returns as jury.
Right, and there she is wearing that such sartorial taste in that suit she's chosen.
Yeah.
Her drama movie, remember, All We Imagine Is Light, was the first Indian film to reach the stage in 2024. And in 2025, she's come as a jury member. And for the Cannes opening ceremony, she was seen in what you can see is just such a sexy power suit.
Right, an Oscar-winning actress Halle Berry also was caught off guard by the Cannes Film Festival's updated dress code and had to switch her outfit choice actually last minute. What happened there?
Right, she spoke about this. The updated rules essentially prohibit two kinds of outfits. So, voluminous outfits of any kind, things with a large train that might make it difficult to sit, those have been outlawed. Also, any kind of nudity has been outlawed. What this has led to is quite a bit of confusion for people who've been planning their outfits for months. Remember, there's months of planning that goes into this. Reuters' Olivia Zolino reports.
Halle Berry wore a black and white striped dress on the red carpet at the Cannes opening ceremony on Tuesday, though it was not her first choice, she told reporters earlier in the day. The Oscar-winning actor and festival jury member was caught off guard by the film festival's updated dress code.
But I had an amazing dress by Gupta to wear tonight, and I cannot wear because the train is too big. So of course, I'm going to follow the rules. So I had to make a pivot.
The new rules prohibit nudity as well as voluminous outfits, which include long trains that may block the way for other guests and complicate theater seating. In addition, the code now explicitly allows for elegant shoes without a heel on the red carpet. BBC film reporter Tom Burke called the rules something for people to talk about.
Well, seems to happen, every time with Cannes. I remember a few years ago there was a ban on selfies. There was also a ban on women wearing flat heels at Cannes, and there was an uproar about that. I think it was called Heelgate or whatever. And now we hear that no nudity will be allowed on the red carpet. In my mind, it's not terrifically important.
In recent years, guests and celebrities on the red carpet have been pushing the limits of the festival's dress code. Kanye West and his wife Bianca Censori caused a stir at the Grammy Awards red carpet earlier this year when Censori dropped an oversized coat to reveal a sheer dress with nothing underneath. Organizers said they could deny red carpet access to those who do not respect the rules.
How very fascinating is that? Let's move on from that though for the moment. When India strikes, the ripple is global. Now it's hitting tourism as well. In a bold and politically loaded move, Ease My Trip has now issued a travel advisory urging Indians to avoid Turkey and Azerbaijan. Countries like the company claims are siding with Pakistan in a time of rising hostility. This isn't the first time that Ease My Trip has taken a nationalistic stand. They were the only ones to sort of delist Maldives also, remember, last year. But this time, the stakes are higher.
The co-founder says it's not just about destinations, it's about dollars funding those who, quote, arm our enemies. So what exactly is Ease My Trip asking Indian travelers to do? We thought it's important to sit down with the co-founder, Prashant Pitti, to understand a little bit more about this. Let's just go over to him to understand more. Prashant, good morning. Ease My Trip's take on travel to Turkey, Azerbaijan, because both countries can be seen as against India. What brings in this decision?
Well, Ease My Trip, this is not an isolated decision. Ease My Trip in the past, about a year ago, when there was a standoff between India and Maldives, Ease My Trip was the only one which has taken a call to ban Maldives on its platform. Only after 8-9 months, when Maldives started Welcome India campaign, our Honorable External Minister Jaishankar ji visited over there, and after getting multiple requests from their tourism department, after they have done a lot of course correction, we resumed our operations with Maldives. So this is not an isolated decision. Ease My Trip always stands for nation first and business later. And in continuation to that, clearly Azerbaijan and Turkey has chosen to be on the wrong side of the history. Pakistan is completely exposed, given how their military, their army personnel were part of the funeral of UN designated terrorists. Clearly exposes Pakistan, and India has done wonderful job in teaching them the lesson in the language which they understand. Now, it's a decision which Turkey and Azerbaijan has made to stand on the wrong side of history. And just like our Honorable Prime Minister Modi, who has said that blood and water cannot flow together, we would like to add blood, water and trade should also not flow together.
Okay, but Prashant, I want to understand the details over here. That's obviously your view. What exactly is the advisory that you have issued?
In this time, we have not boycotted Turkey and Azerbaijan because for a lot of people, Turkey is a layover, where from Turkey they're traveling to the other European countries or the US, which is why the advisory is that before going to these countries which are adversaries to India, please consider if it is most important, then only travel. Otherwise, for your safety, for your own motherland safety, it is better to avoid going to these countries and go to a neutral destination.
So, how do you predict this move that you've taken playing out? Do you see cancellations happening after this?
Yes, so there for Turkey we see cancellations of about 22%, and for Azerbaijan it is above 30%. And in order to give you some statistics, last year 3.5 put together 3.8 lakh people traveled to either Azerbaijan or Turkey from India. Now, if you take a modest 60,000, 70,000 rupees per passenger spend, it equates to somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 crores, which was spent by Indians in these countries. Now, this money will probably come back to us in the format of these countries choosing to give their arsenals, their weaponry to Pakistan and hitting back on us, which is why it is important for us Indians to know where to spend our money in better format.
Yeah, but it's not really that simple, right? A lot of these are Indian airlines, and that's how India is also drawing business. But I leave that to you. But Prashant, I want to understand some figures that you shared. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? What kind of business loss are you seeing personally because of this?
As I said that, almost about 3,000 crores amount was spent by Indians going to these countries, Azerbaijan and Turkey. And we surely can spend these money in better places, the ones which are standing with India, standing on the right side of the history. And also, around 30% cancellations have happened for Azerbaijan and around 22% cancellations have happened for Turkey.
Okay, that's Ease My Trips, Prashant. Prashant, thank you for joining us. Okay, we're going to move on from this now to something entirely different. We're taking you to stories that are taking place across the entire world, starting with visuals that are coming in right now from Central Africa. A spectacular migration taking place from Central Africa to the Arctic Circle. The ambitious 5-month Odyssey aims to raise awareness around the climate emergency. This is a project that began in Congo. It's home, remember, to the world's second largest tropical rainforest. Recycled materials are being used to make these magical creatures. Look at that giraffe on your screens right now. And right from this giraffe, you have the gorillas we showed you earlier. Everything has been made. That's a zebra. Everything has been made with recycled material.
Dolce & Gabbana's fashion fantasy lands in Rome with an immersive exhibition. After stops in Milan, in Paris, the exhibition lands in the Eternal City with a fresh design tailored to the venue's grand neoclassical spaces. Originally opened in 1883 and now reimagined at the stage of fashion fantasy. Now, the exhibition spans 13 immersive rooms and over 1,500 square meters, blending influences of the Renaissance paintings, of the Sicilian folklore, also from ancient Rome to La Dolce Vita. Now, after its Roman run, it will now head to the United States with its set to appear at the major cultural institutions over the next few days.
And now we take you to Moscow, where it seems some of the best architecture lies underground with its vaulted ceilings, marble floors and tile mosaics. These are, of course, these were put there by Vladimir Lenin and the Red Army. What you're looking at right now is the Moscow Metro. It's a crown jewel of the Russian capital. And in the decades since Moscovites boarded the first train 90 years ago this week, the metro system has grown to meet the demands of its ever-growing metropolis. Just look at those beautiful visuals as each day millions of commuters in the city of 13 million crowd into the metro's 302 stations to ride one of its snaking lines on their way to work or school. Moscow Transit authorities pride themselves not just on the metro's cleanliness and efficiency, but also on its beauty.
Sean Diddy Combs, the rapper and the music mogul who discovered world-famous artists and helped bring the genre into mainstream, went on trial in New York on Monday on charges that he ran a 2-decade racketeering and sex trafficking conspiracy. Now, this is a package brought to you by Reuters. Take a look.
Rapper Sean Diddy Combs, who has been a pivotal figure in bringing hip-hop to the mainstream, went on trial in New York on Monday. He is accused of leading a 2-decade racketeering and sex trafficking conspiracy.
His infamous white parties are where some of these freak-offs allegedly happened.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges and denied wrongdoing. Here is what you need to know. Combs faces 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, and 2 counts of transporting for prostitution. Prosecutors must prove all elements of each count beyond a reasonable doubt, and all 12 jurors must vote unanimously to convict on each count. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Prosecutors allege that for 2 decades, Combs used his business empire to lure women into his orbit with promises of romantic relationships or financial support, and then allegedly violently coerced them into participating in drug-fueled sexual performances. Here is former federal prosecutor Niyama Ramani.
A freak-off is what Diddy referred to as one of these drug-induced orgies, and they would last reportedly days. And Combs would reportedly videotape these freak-offs, both for his sexual pleasure and maybe to maintain control over the other participants.
Prosecutors allege that Combs kept his victims obedient by drugging and blackmailing them.
While they were participating in these orgies, the allegations are that they were not free to leave or free to say no. And in addition to that force element, there are allegations that Diddy and his crew, they drugged these victims, and these drug-induced orgies would last days. And at least according to the indictment, the drug use was so rampant that the victims would need IVs and medical attention when it was all said and done.
Combs' defense lawyers argued that the sex described by prosecutors was consensual and a part of his, quote, swinger lifestyle. His defense team will likely attack the credibility of his accusers, suggesting they had financial incentives to make false allegations. The defense will also contest a hotel surveillance video showing Combs kicking and dragging one of his accusers. Combs' lawyers say the video, first published by CNN, was edited to look as damning as possible and lacks context. 3, possibly 4 accusers are expected to testify, including Combs' former girlfriend Cassandra Ventura, known as Cassie. It's uncertain if Combs will take the stand. Defense lawyers often advised against it to avoid cross-examination. Prosecutors expect the trial to last 8 to 10 weeks in a case that has drawn intense media coverage. Beyond this trial, Combs is facing over 50 lawsuits alleging sexual assault and rape. He has denied these allegations, which seek monetary damages.
All right, let's move on from that and let's drive you through what's the latest coming in from Overdrive. Get ready to rev up your engines because Overdrive's Ashish Vedak takes you to the 2025 Ducati for a spin.
Let's see what he has to say about this new beast of a bike. Take a look.
There was a time when the name Panigale struck fear into the hearts of mere mortals. And not for the reasons Ducati's PR team would have liked.
Yes, it looked like a superbike poster child. Yes, it had all the tech that you could think of. But riding it fast, that was a completely different story. It almost felt like Ducati had channeled the ghost of their MotoGP failure with Rossi into that motorcycle. It was fast, it was tech-laden, but it was so temperamental that even the doctor threw in the towel.
Early Panigales made you feel like you needed the physique of Stoner, the talent of Marquez, and the core of a yoga guru just to survive a fast lap.
It was the sort of motorcycle that you bought with track daydreams, but then sold it right after when you realized that you would rather be horizontal in bed than be at lean at 55 degrees and battle that monster. But Ducati did something unthinkable. They listened, they recalibrated. Somewhere along the way, they made sure that the Panigale V4 stopped hating its rider. It didn't feel like it anymore. It felt a lot friendlier. It became one of the fastest machines on the track and also became a lot more accommodating. And with that focus in mind, they created the new one to make it friendlier, more accommodating, more of a glory chaser.
So the idea was clear. Make every rider, rookie, racer or returning hero, quicker around the racetrack. But let's first talk about the new design before we get into the technicalities.
First impressions, Mamma Mia. It looks gorgeous, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it was designed in a wind tunnel, but it definitely looks like it was grown in a wind tunnel. And I think it looks gorgeous. So even if you just want to pick it up and put it in your living room, like many people do with the Ducatis, this should be good.
Gone is the overtly robotic menace of the predecessor. In comes a more organic, emotionally charged silhouette. The wings and the ducts are no longer bolted on afterthoughts. They are woven into the form, leading to a 4% drop in the aerodynamic drag.
The fairing is wider, not just for vanity, but for sanity. It's basically to make sure that even generously sized riders like me can nicely tuck in, hide behind that fairing at speed, so that you're not battling a lot of that wind when that brutal acceleration kicks in, and that in turn reduces rider fatigue.
You also tuck in better now. Your elbow lines up with your knee, the tank grips are better placed and stealthily black, and even us generously sized folks get a seat that's wider by 50mm and longer by 35mm to move around more easily. The new pegs are narrower, 10mm higher, offer better cornering clearance, and yet don't feel cumbersome even if you're going to ride your bike to the track day. Simply put, it's still aggressive, but not aggressively unwelcoming anymore. The forged wheels are over 2 kilos lighter. That's a coffee mug short of shedding a lap time penalty. And now they're designed to fit full-fat WSBK rubber as well. Pirelli's SCQ tires have also evolved, ready to handle more torque with less drama. And that brings us to the most controversial change, the double-sided swing arm.
All the Panigale purists holding on to their single-sided jewelry, relax. Ducati didn't just add the other arm on the swing arm for symmetry. What it does, it gives it better agility, it gives it better flexibility, it gives it better stiffness, at the same time better torque threshold, because you see the wheels now support the bigger tires or the wider tires from WSBK. That's more contact patch, that's more torque that can be delivered to those tires, which means the swing arm had to be strengthened too.
At full lean, over 50 degrees, the suspension can't do all the heavy lifting. That's where Ducati's revised frame steps in. It's lighter but offers more lateral stiffness, which means better agility and mid-corner stability. The new walls offer a wider, soft to stiff range, letting the bike adapt better to everything from backstraight bombing to casual canyon cruising. It auto-detects when you're riding normally and shifts to a comfort bias setup. Finally, it's a Panigale that won't punish you for wanting to go to a cafe more number of times than a track outing. The new Brembo High Pure calipers shave off 60 grams and deliver fade-free, high G braking performance that even hard track use couldn't compromise during our test. Ducati also went wild with the brake tech. 7 levels of ABS, corner-sensitive ECBS, and race-grade rear brake logic. That is a game changer.
You see, most of us, unless we are wearing our names on our race suit, don't really use the rear brake when we are out on the track. We are always depending on the front brake to do all the heavy lifting. But pros, on the other hand, will use that rear brake to stabilize the motorcycle, to make mid-corner corrections, and also to ensure that the chassis remains composed when they are really pushing hard on a racetrack. That takes years and years of experience. It takes a lot of finesse. It takes a sixth sense of grip and the ankle movements of a ballerina. That is not something that everyone possesses, and that is where Ducati's ECBS comes in. It is essentially a magical system which will use their MotoGP derived algorithm to predict what the rider is going to do, or how the motorcycle is going to behave, or where that rear brake is required even though you're not using it. Sometimes, even though you're not using the front, the rear will still come into action to stabilize the motorcycle.
Enter Ducati's brake-by-wire and MotoGP-derived rear brake logic.
The system works flawlessly and discreetly. It's no placebo effect. You will actually feel the difference when you're riding on the track when you're in race mode. Because when you're in the corner and if you're trail braking, or even if you're not using the front brake at all and you're at maximum lean, if the algorithm believes that there will be a need of some rear brake to stabilize the bike, to correct the corner, or to make the line sharper, it will do that on its own with all the sensors that are on board. And mind you, these are not the same number of sensors. They are far lesser than what you have on a MotoGP machine. But it's all the learnings from MotoGP which are making your life easier and making you look like a hero in the bargain.
right, next we bring you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and any kind of business insight. Let's take a look first at an overview of the markets. As GIFT Nifty trends indicate a stable opening for Indian stock markets, Asian equity markets are trading in a narrow range as investors await key earning releases. US stock markets closed higher on slower than expected rise in consumer inflation. Gold prices are steady while oil prices are in a narrow band as traders pass economic data.
Let's look at the sector in focus this morning. Capital goods companies do not appear to be firing in terms of execution. Host of local and global factors are to be blamed for the sort of sluggishness in the sector. However, the pace of order inflows has gathered momentum and execution should follow in the coming quarters. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's capital goods sector and various other actionable insights on the markets. It's a premier destination for all the investing views and financial insights you will ever need, brought to you by Money Control.
Okay, with that, we're going to be drawing our show to a close. As usual, send us your thoughts. What are the topics you want to see us cover and how? Send them to us. We're just sending you our Twitter or X link at CNN News 18.
Until then, see you tomorrow morning 8. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We are getting a breaking input at this point. The Indian government declared a Pakistani official at the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi persona non grata for activities not in keeping with their official status. The individual, according to sources, has been identified as a staffer from Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence and has been directed to leave India within 24 hours. A démarche was issued to charge sheet affairs of the Pakistan High Commission in this particular regard, and following the expulsion, Pakistan engaged in a tit-for-tat move and declared a staff member of the Indian High Commission in Islamabad as persona non grata. I'm now joined by CNN News 18, Siddhant Mishra on this broadcast. Siddhant, first of all, take us through the details of the staff who was working in Pakistan High Commission in India. What kind of espionage was he involved in?
Well, Sharon, honestly, we know very little about this particular person who has been asked by the Indian government to go to Pakistan in next 24 hours. But what I know is that he is not an official. He's a...
Network 18 decimates Times Internet with over 6 times more unique users on social media. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the times. Network 18 is now the clear leader in digital media with 55% more users on native platforms and social media than Times Internet. Network